If you're learning Premiere Pro, here are 5 things that are going to level up your editing. I'm Ryan, I own Haywire Media Group, and I teach media production at VCU. Let's get started. Let's talk about a little bit about sound mixing. So generally, obviously, there are 3 things in a corporate video or a documentary generally that you're mixing as far as sound is concerned. It's the interview dialogue level, it's music, and it's any sound effects. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is level our interview because you don't want to chop up the interview and have to level all of the individual cuts. So if I were to cut this up into a billion pieces, I don't want to have to do this over a whole bunch of different clips. It's just a whole lot easier to do a base audio level on the entire interview before you chop it up into sound bites. First thing we need to do is select the interview, make sure it's selected in your sequence, and then there's 3 ways you can adjust the level or volume of the interview. You can go up to Effect Controls and go down to Audio, Volume, and increase or decrease the volume level there. You just do that by typing in numbers and hitting Enter or Return. So 10, it will increase it. So -20 will decrease it. We're going to do a quick audio level using your audio meters over here to the right. And if your audio meters aren't showing, again, go up to Window, click on Audio Meters, and they should come up right here. And we are going to want this, so actually I can't see the numbers on the side, so let me expand that so I can actually see the dB. On the side here, we don't want clipping. Clipping is where the audio is too loud and it distorts. If your audio meter hits all the way up here at 0, you're going to clip. It's going to distort a little bit. So we need to keep the peaks off of 0, but I like the top of the peaks generally to be around -6. That gives you a nice loud audio level on the interviews. So we're kind of down here at like -18. So I'm going to increase it to 10. See what that does.
I wish I would have done this. Well, they try to start that, and so I was just wanting to take a leap of faith.
Yeah, that's great. Another way you can do this is there's a little line here on the audio track, and you can literally grab it and lift it up or drag it down. And you see a little box, a little gray box below it that shows you how much you're changing the volume of the audio. I don't recommend that. I find that not to be very precise. The other way to do it, which is the way I normally do it, is just select the clip, right click on it, and go to audio gain. And then you can just do audio gain 10. If you right click and do audio gain, it is additive and subtractive. So like I said, I bumped it all the way up to 15. I really want it to be at 10. So I'm going to do -5. And now my audio gain should be at 10. Let's check. Audio gain. Yeah, and we're at 10 dB.
I'm going to start.
So that's a pretty good audio level for the interview. You may have to adjust each soundbite as you clip sound bites out of the entire interview. But this will help greatly reduce the number of individual adjustments you have to do on each soundbite throughout your entire edit. And for music, you want to keep the music low enough during the interview that you can hear it. Let's go to Essential Sound. Let's go to Browse. Okay. Premiere has a entire sound effects and music library, which is super awesome. If you go up to Window, make sure that Essential Sound is checked right here under Window. And over on the right, you'll see graphic templates. And if you click on this double arrow, Lumetri Color and Essential Sound. Those 3 panels are pretty important. So you pick the song you like. Okay, that's fine. And, oh, hang on. And then we're just going to drag it into the timeline. Come on. Drag. And it will download. And it may take a second. There we go. So we have some music, which is pretty great. And so obviously that is way too loud. You probably can't hear it on the video, but that's way too loud for his interview. So a lot of times I'm going to take the music way down. So you can either grab this little bar right here and take it up or down, or you can right click on it, scroll down, we go to audio gain, and then I can adjust it here.
It was one of those things where I was like,
Yeah, that's good.
I talk to a lot of people and I hear a lot of parents.
But you want to just make sure that you don't have any trouble hearing or understanding what the interview is saying or the dialogue is saying, because the worst thing is for the music to be fighting with the interview. And one key is you ought to listen to it in headphones and listen to it on speakers, because it'll sound different, and just kind of get a level that is acceptable between the two. I usually find that music, as it comes in, it is usually mixed pretty loud. The peaks are usually -6 and above, and I will I'll knock like 20 dB off, maybe 25, sometimes even 30 depending on the song. 10 to 15 usually isn't enough. Okay, and then when we hit like B-roll sections, it's good to bump the music up. One way to do it is you can go to your blade tool, make a cut, select it, right click, go to audio gain. So we're going to add 10 to it. That'll make it -10. And then we're going to right click. So we're going to hover our mouse right over the cut here to where it turns to that red bracket. We're going to right click and we're going to go apply default transition. And that's going to like smooth the cut so the music doesn't just jump up immediately. It's nice. Obviously the cut on his dialogue is terrible. I didn't do anything specifically there. Okay. So, and the same thing for sound effects. Let's say I want to put a whoosh here. Say I want to put a transition and a whoosh. We're going to go up to the Essential Sound panel again. We're going to switch from music to sound effects. I'm going to type in a whoosh. Oh, there's already a whoosh there. I've already done this. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to drag it down. It's going to populate. I'm going to have a little whoosh there. And that is really loud. That is one horrible thing. You have to really listen to your sound effects because they come in really loud. And the worst thing is for someone to have turn their volume up to where it's nice listening to your video, and this super loud sound effect comes in, and they're going to be mad at you. So I'm going to right click again. I'm going to go down to audio gain, and I'm going to go to -15. That's nice. I may even go to -18, but that's close enough. Okay, and normally I'd put some kind of a transition there, like an effect, a slide, maybe a quick fade, something like that. I like to label my transitions something else, so I can quickly identify in the timeline, oh, this is a transition, and the music is another color as well. So I can see what's dialogue, what is music, what is a transition. And those are the essentials for a very simple sound mix. Just make sure your dialogue is very understandable over the music, and that your music is cut down enough to where you can still hear it. It still adds atmosphere, but it's obviously not overpowering everything else, and then your sound effects aren't too loud. Let's talk about transitions. We need a nice transition, and Premiere has some nice transitions built in. So if you go up to Window, make sure that Effects is checked. And that effects window will be up here on the upper left, right by your effect controls. And remember, your effect controls manipulates a lot of the elements of your clip, like how far it's zoomed in, its position, its rotation, things like that. Even its transparency or opacity. But right beside effect controls should be effects. In effects, a bunch of different audio and video effects. And we're going to go to video transitions. And there's a bunch of folders. And we're going to see what we want to do. Simple dissolve. If you want to just do a simple crossfade, hover your mouse over the cut and right click, as long as the mouse has got that red bracket, and then go down to apply default transition. And it will not do it on this clip. So that's a good note. It will not do it on this clip because this clip starts right here. So it has nothing to start the transition with over here. So we need to trim this clip this way a little ways. And then we're going to right click, apply default transition. Yay, we've got a transition. And it automatically puts a video and an audio transition. You probably don't want the audio transition a lot of times. Sometimes you do. A lot of times I end up deleting the audio transition. It just depends. Okay, so yeah, we got a little... Should be faster. If we want to increase or decrease the speed of the transition, we can stretch it out, or compress it. We're going to make it real fast.
Edit hand.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Edit hand.
But that is not fancy enough for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, we already did dissolve. Let's do a slide. We're going to do a push. Okay, we've got a push and we're going to make it pretty quick.
Edit hand.
That's too fast. And
Where they try to start that. Edit hand.
Yeah, look at that. Very nice. So there's a bunch of different options depending on what you like. Go up to graphic templates up here. And if you don't see that, obviously go up to window again. Make sure that graphic templates is checked. And you have some lower third animations, titles and things like that. And we talked about titles in general, but maybe we want to do a lower third animation. Yeah, this one's nice. To edit these, we simply click on the clip, and then we're going to hover up here, and we're going to double click on that, and we're going to type in Dreamlike Pros. So now we have,
So
it's kind of nice.
Pros was kind of not random, but it was.
And if I want it to fade out sooner, I can just drag this there.
It was kind of not random, but it was.
So that's really nice. You got some options there. If you just want to type in some text, you can do that as well. You go over to your toolbox over here or your tool panel, and you're going to click on T, which I'm already on. So some hotkeys: V for your selector tool, and C for your blade tool. T is for your type tool. You can also just click the buttons. And you just hover over the screen and you type. Great. And then I'm going to go back to my selector tool and I can move this around where I want it. And I can go to effect controls to change the font, the size, things like that. So I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to go down here. I'm under effect controls. You'll notice in the timeline, every time you do this, we have our little lower third animation here, which is kind of a magenta color. And then we have the text that we just typed right here, which is the same. Make sure it's selected before you click on effect controls, because if it's not selected, you won't be able to edit it. Or if you have a different clip selected, you're going to be manipulating something that isn't the clip that you want to change. So click on that clip and you can change its position this way, or you can, click on your selector tool, move it like this. I like to do it here just because sometimes it's a little more precise, and we can make it bigger. We can make it smaller. If we want to change the text font and things like that, we're going to go over to the text right here. We're going to click on that little caret or that little arrow. And so we have our font. Now make sure we have your type tool selected. We're going to make sure it's triple click on it so it's all selected. And we can change the font to, I don't know, what do we want to change it to? That's a lot of things. Sure, we'll change it to that. What does it matter? I like the other one better, but that's okay. And we can change the font size here, so we're not just blowing it up and shrinking it with the scale here. So we're going to change the scale back to 100. And then we can make it bigger, smaller, whatever we want to do. We can change the justification, left, right, center. And you can add a shadow. I don't know how well that shadow works. Let's try it, but let's move this down here so we can actually see if there is a drop shadow. Let's zoom in a little bit. If you want to zoom in on your preview, or I'm sorry, your program window, you can use your scroll wheel, or you can go down here to this little box and zoom in or zoom out, or just fit back to the original window so you're not missing anything. But let's do this and zoom in here. Let's see what this does. There we go. Yep, it does. It does. So you can add a drop shadow. If it's hard to see, maybe it's white text and on a white background, and you need to add a drop shadow to make it look a little better, a little more visible. You can do that right here. Okay. So that is basic text. Color grading or color correction. So if you need to do some color grading or color correction, we're not going to go into that heavily in this, but say your white balance was a little bit off, or your footage looked a little tinted a little green or a little magenta, you go over to Lumetri Color. Make sure Lumetri Color is checked in your window. We're going to go over here, hit the double arrow. We're going to go to Lumetri Color, and we're going to actually expand this panel so we've got a little more room. And then we've got some options. Maybe I think this is not saturated enough. We're going to go down here to saturation, and I can increase the saturation, make it really, really saturated, or make it black and white. Maybe the tint is a little bit magenta and we want it to be a little more green. Just take some of the red out of the skin tones, because a lot of times you're color correcting for skin tones or color grading for skin tones. Color correction is where you're correcting the image to something that looks correct or looks proper, like Rec 709. And color grading is for style. So you're taking that corrected image and you are stylizing it to fit the mood of your video. And maybe the color temperature is just a little too warm or a little too cold. We can warm it up a little bit or cool it off a little bit. And hopefully if you have your white balance set correctly, there's very little color correction that you have to do. But these three sliders plus your exposure slider and maybe your contrast slider are the ones you're going to use the most. So basic color correction can be done in the Lumetri Color panel. They can do a whole lot more with curves, a bunch of other tools that we are not going to talk about today. One major note that when you are adjusting exposure, you should use your scopes, specifically your waveform. You're going to go up to Window, go down to Lumetri Scopes, which is right here, and make sure that is checked. That should be up in the upper left-hand corner right here for Lumetri Scopes. And here we go. So the easiest way to read a waveform monitor, so if you don't see what I'm seeing here, go down here to the little settings and make sure that waveform is checked. We don't want the vector scope. We're not going to talk about that today. We don't want, you can use Parade. Parade is fine. Parade allows you to see the red, green, and blue color channels. And it's the same thing as the waveform. But the basic Luma waveform is all you need for exposure. So we expose for highlights, and we're exposing for the highlights on our subject's face. And that is going to be Nick's left side of Nick's face here. And if you move, you can see his head move in the waveform monitor. This is our subject's head. And so all the waveform monitor is doing is reading exposure from left to right. It's how bright whatever is in the frame on the left side is, all the way to how bright or dark everything is on the right side of the frame. So like this little tick right here is going to be this fluorescent light up here, because that's the brightest thing in the frame, and it's right where it should be as far as its positioning. And this is our talent's face, which is right where it should be. This stuff down here is probably this the black wall back here. So is this. So down to 0 is absolute black, so there's no color information. Is just reading as black pixels. Up here to 100, maybe a little higher, is just reading absolute white. So there's no information there either other than white pixels. So you want to avoid both. You want to have a little, usually you want to have, don't want to blow out the highlights or crush the shadows. And this is nice. And we're exposing for highlights. So in the highlights on our subject's face, and we want our subject's face to be somewhere between 60 and 80 on the IRE scale. So 60 and 80 right there. And not really below 50, not really above 90. And yeah, right there is great. This is probably his TLP up here. So his face is right up here, right around 70, maybe pushing 80, which is perfect because this right here is going to be Nick's shirt. So that's right where we want to be. But if it was a little overexposed, we could bring the exposure down. If it was underexposed, we could bring the exposure up. But now you see we're starting to blow out the highlights. So we're going to leave it right there. And that is a really useful tool to be able to set your exposure properly. One more thing I want to talk about, which isn't specifically in Premiere, is a really powerful tool that Adobe offers that you should utilize, is noise reduction. Programs like Final Cut, DaVinci Resolve have built-in noise reduction, which is really, really good. Premiere, as of right now, unless they've built something in very, very recently, does not have great noise reduction. But Adobe Podcast does. And that's a browser-based tool that you can use to minimize or remove background noise. So say you were filming an interview in a really noisy location, you can use Adobe Podcast to reduce or remove that background noise and really clean up your audio, and I highly recommend it. So what you'll do is go to podcast.adobe.com. You're going to go to Enhance Speech, and so I'm going to have to sign in. And once you're signed in, you're going to choose the file that you want to enhance. And let's see if I got one that's noisy. I don't think I've got one. Well, maybe I do. All right, and then we'll take some audio that perhaps was a little noisy. I've got a clip here that's from an interview I did recently, and if you listen to it.
Incredible honor to serve and to then come back to Richmond. And I'll shorten this a bit.
So if you hear that, there's a lot of air conditioning or HVAC sound, just the fan in the background. But the interview audio is not bad. So this should clean up pretty well. So we're just going to drag and drop it, and it's going to upload it to Adobe Podcast, the cloud, and it will process it and clean it up. Okay, and let's listen to it.
Incredible honor to serve and to then come back to Richmond. And I'll shorten it.
So if you listen to that versus the original.
Incredible honor to serve and to then come back to Richmond. And I'll shorten this a bit. Incredible honor to serve and to then come back.
Completely took out the air conditioning noise. So we can obviously increase the background noise or decrease it, and I think that's great. That's certainly far better than hearing all of that air conditioning noise in the background. Then once you're done, you just download it, and then you'll put that into Premiere over top of the audio you already have. I don't know why that's not built into Premiere yet. It does have under Essential Sound, it does have an audio cleanup feature, like an enhanced speech button right here. Do not use that. It's not good. Maybe it's better in 2026. I think I've used it in version 2026 because I just upgraded to that maybe a month ago. But at least in version 2025 or Premiere 25, it was not good. It actually, I think, was worse than having it. Well, I don't know if it was a toss-up on whether it was better with or without the enhancement. Anyway, so there's some next steps that you can take in your journey from beginner editor to moving into intermediate. Just a few things that are helpful as you're moving along your journey to learn Adobe Premiere. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.